I'm ready to rip somebody's freaking head off.
He's the most unprofessional little scaredy cat I've ever seen in my life.
Didn't mean to really turn around, meant to rally his cage up. I be your favorite driver.
And who would that be?
All of them.
This is Mario Andretti, and you are listening to Below the Yellow Line.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Below the Yellow Line. It is always great to talk to the rising stars of NASCAR, the rising stars of both the real on-track product, and in this case, the rising stars of the sim racing world as well. We have somebody who is doing both of those. So if you would, special guest for today, go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hey guys, what's up? My name is Vicente Salas. I'm driver of the number 11 Tony Kanaan esports car on iRacing, as well as the Young's Motorsports number 20 in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Great to have you on the show today, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this. So everybody has a start in racing, right? Whether it's real racing, sim racing, either one. When were you first interested in auto racing, and when did you know you maybe wanted to pursue it, whether on the racetrack or on the computer as a career?
Honestly, I think it came pretty early for me. Every kid grows up wanting to be a football player, an astronaut, or what be it. And for me, my dad always had racing on the TV. He grew up being a motorsports photographer, racing motocross. So racing was kind of always in the blood. And, just growing up watching that, I didn't really watch much TV. I watched racing. I lived racing. So, ever since I was a little kid, that's what I wanted to do. And I was finally given the opportunity to race shifter karts when I was about 15 years old. And, it kind of just grew from there, having the opportunity to race in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, which has, bridged the gap from living across the country from an industry, that's on the East Coast. So, just really, really grateful for all these opportunities and just, excited to be here.
Yeah, you've gotten those opportunities. You have earned those opportunities, especially in the sim racing world. You mentioned it at the top of the show. You got backing from Tony Kanaan. If you guys haven't heard, he's pretty good at this race car driver thing. You're a pro in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. I know you could probably go on and on about maybe specific skills you learned, but by and large, how did you get so good at sim racing, and what steps are there? What steps do you take to get better, both behind the wheel of your iRacing setup that you also use behind the wheel of a Craftsman Truck Series truck or a late model or something like that?
It's kind of funny. Obviously, I grew up wanting to race, and I didn't really have access to go-karts, legend cars, bandos. You have it, right? And the only thing I had access to was an Xbox I got when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade. I had Forza on that, and I always ran, Xbox leagues, races, like competitive races. And that's kind of how I got my start, just racing some type of, generally competitive series. And, from there, I got a sim, just kind of had fun on it. I didn't really take it too seriously. I ran, maybe 1 week out of the month or two that I saw races that I might enjoy. And, finally, I wanted to run Road to Pro. It was kind of a random thought. I was like, hey, this looks fun. It's a pro series. It'll be competitive. And then COVID happened. Obviously, everybody was kind of indoors. And I was able to test a lot more and run a lot more laps. And I feel like that's why I made it the first time around, because before 2020, I'd had my sim for a couple of years, but I hardly ever raced on it. So, I think the opportunity to just run those laps, get familiar with it, get familiar with saving tires, just how to run an oval car. Because like I said, I started in shifter karts. So before I was able to run, a pro late model stock, or even the truck, I didn't have experience in a stock car besides iRacing. So, just the skills of racing side by side, being aware, being used to having a spotter, communicating to your crew what you need in the car and whatnot. It's just all a bunch of relative and familiar skills that I was able to build on iRacing.
Yeah, so you say that you didn't have any stock car experience aside from iRacing, aside from the sim. So, you're renowned. Obviously, you're really good in the real car. They don't give out NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series rides to average Joe on the street, right? You have to earn that ride. You've won at Hickory, I think, in a late model before. So how different, and if so, or would your career be different without the sim racing aspect? Do you think you would have the opportunities you have in the truck series and all that without sim racing? And if so, how different do you think your career would look if iRacing and sim racing didn't play a part in it?
I honestly have no idea where I would be right now if it wasn't for iRacing, and especially the people I have met, through iRacing and through being in the series, because like I said, I lived in California, right? And NASCAR is, out there a little bit, with some late model stuff, and then obviously a division of ARCA. But for the most part, everything is based out here. So, being able to bridge that gap, get to know people that, recommended me, hey, you should go race with this team, or hey, I'll talk to this team for you, and I got you. I mean, that's how I got my my first start in a late model with Donnie Wilson Motorsports and the Cars Tour. That would have never happened if it wasn't for one of my really good friends, Jonathan Platt, who has been my spotter for the last 3 or 4 years now on iRacing. So, it's just a lot of those incredible people that I've met that are now lifelong friends that have also helped give me opportunities to, chase my dreams in this sport.
Yeah, a lot of great people that they can meet through stuff like that. You obviously met the right ones, and they put you in an opportunity to succeed. You have succeeded so far. So, we just talked. You talked a little bit about how things can translate from the sim to the real track. We see it in the NASCAR Cup Series now. Every single driver, at least all the ones under 40, seem to be using the sim technology to the fullest. Right? They're on the sim almost every day of the week, learning about this new thing on a track, trying to get setups right. 20 years ago, everybody would have laughed at you if you said, sim racing is going to be what propels a lot of these teams now, what helps them get better. But how accurate is it? We had the great technology, iRacing, the people there, they're just phenomenal at what they do, creating the most realistic sim out there for race car drivers like yourself. How close is it to the real thing? If I got, into in a sim, would I be able to feel what a driver feels in a car? How close is it to the real thing?
I think it's very, very close and relative. Obviously there's going to be some little minute differences in real life with, aero and, tires and the way heat builds, because I don't think there's ever going to be a way to get it 100%, but you're definitely going to be able to get it 90 or 99%, So, I think being able to take skills I learned, like keeping your nose in clean air and taking that into the truck race, like I was able to go out there and already have the knowledge built to, make sure to be disciplined on throttle, keep, if you're on the inside, keep your nose pointed to the inside of the truck in front of you, so then you turn, right? It's just little cues like that, little things that I don't think I would have been able to learn or just have as a bookmark in my head. So, the eNASCAR series has definitely helped with all of that. And, I would absolutely say to someone who's never driven a stock car that if they were given the opportunity to, I would definitely, utilize iRacing or some type of sim platform to get used to it. Because nowadays with the technology, like you said, it creates a very, very familiar feeling the way the car, moves, the weight distribution, the tires. And, it just gives you a baseline in your head for when you go out on the track, like, oh, hey, I kind of felt this on the sim, and it gets you a certain percentage of the way there so that you can feel fully comfortable in the car.
It is incredible, this technology we have. And again, like 20, 30 years ago, everybody would have laughed if you said, I'd really love to see, Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty, in their prime, get into a sim and try to make a car work that way. But it is incredible, the technology we have, what we can do, and what drivers like yourself are utilizing it for. So you mentioned there your truck series debut, not at any old track, at Circuit of the Americas, a road course that gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking about jumping in any sort of vehicle there and trying to go, let alone go fast. How did you manage your nerves going into that race? What did it feel like to crank up your engine and say, oh, that's Matt Crafton, that's Christian Eckes, that's Court, all these champions, winners, future Cup Series drivers. What was it like to go out there and be, a man amongst men in that series?
It was a moment that kind of really, set me in the moment was when we went out there for practice, and it was like my first or second lap. I was kind of just getting my bounds. I was definitely, off on pace, just trying to feel the truck out and see what it was about. But, we went into turn 12, and I've known Raja for, I think, 5 or 6 years now. We've been pretty good buddies. And he passed me on the inside going into 12, and he stuck a thumbs up out the window net. And I was like, dang, this is pretty cool. Like I kind of to a certain point grew up with him on iRacing, talking for a while. And now, I'm out here on the track with him and all these guys that normally I'd be watching on TV. So that was definitely, a moment that kind of set in like, dang, we're actually, here, we're doing this right now. But as for nerves, it's kind of weird. I thought I'd be more nervous than I actually was, but I feel like because racing has been all I wanted to do, and racing in NASCAR has been my ultimate dream, I almost didn't feel nervous because this is exactly where I wanted to be and exactly what I wanted to be doing. And, I think all the laps on the sim and, my time I had at the GM sim, which I'm very, very thankful to Chevy GM and everybody over there for giving me the time. But, I think everything just really, really helped me get familiar with the truck. And, before we broke transmission, I think it was lap 33 or 34. We actually set, I think, my fastest lap of the race, which was like 13th or 14th fastest on track at the time. So, at least the final lap we had on the track was our best one of the weekend. So, just like I said, super, super grateful for the opportunity, and definitely a dream come true to be able to race with guys that normally I watch on TV. So
I'm sure had a great run there. Drivers all the time, maybe not as much anymore, but I know a lot of drivers in the 90s and 2000s, they had pre-race rituals. They had, a lucky charm, something like that. How does your pre-race rituals, I assume, when you're in your room there, when you're getting ready for a sim race, how did your pre-race ritual, maybe music or trying to calm yourself down? How is that at the real racetrack at Circuit of the Americas compared to when you're getting ready for a big sim race?
I think really the most important and honestly the only pre-race ritual I have is, when I get in the car and I'm all strapped in and I'm ready to go, I like to just take a second to pray, to, ask for God's blessing, ask for him to keep me safe, keep my mind in it, and, keep my guys on pit road safe, everybody that's, laid a hand on the car and helped me, right? So, I think that's honestly the biggest thing. And I know a lot of guys are believers in pre-race rituals and whatnot, but, besides saying a prayer before the race, I don't really have any, I'm kind of just locked in on the task at hand, getting in the car, getting ready, staying focused on what we need to do. So, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't really have anything on that front. So.
Hey, no worries, man. That's about the most important pre-race ritual you can have there, a prayer of safety for you and everybody involved. And, I think as race fans, we love racing, but at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is just have everybody come home safe, please, right? That's what we all want. So my last question for you here, man, and thank you again for taking the time to join us here. What are your future plans in racing, both on the sim side and on the real racetrack?
Well, we actually have a race coming up here tomorrow night at Talladega in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. So you'll be able to catch my Tony Kanat Esports number 11 Camry on track then. As for the real life racing, we're currently working on my next time out in the trucks, and then, hopefully some late model racing to go along with it. But, kind of just trying to get my feet in whatever I can. I'll drive anything and everything wherever. So, just happy to be here and, grateful to have the people on my side that are helping me create opportunities. So.
Absolutely, man. I think we're going to be hearing a lot from you in the future. Congratulations on making that truck start. Always a big deal when you're able to make your first NASCAR National Series start. You were with the stars of the sport, and that's not something a lot of people in this world can ever say. So thank you so much for joining the show, and we wish you the best of luck in your future racing endeavors.
Thank you very much. And real quick, if I could take a quick second to just thank everybody that's helped me get here. Tony Kanan for all the support he's giving me, Miramar Financial, ERA, the sports agency, Team Chevy, and just everybody that, supports me in my program. Just grateful for everybody.
It takes a village. Thank you so much for joining the show. Best of luck.